The massive viewing hall on Kepler Station buzzed with excitement. Thousands of alien warriors filled the metal seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some had thick blue skin like armor. Others had 6 arms that moved like deadly machines. A few floated in the air with glowing eyes that could see through walls. Today was the biggest day of the year. The interspecies military games brought together the best fighters from across the galaxy. Each race would show their power and skill. The winner would get respect and better trade deals for their homeworld. Master Sergeant Kenji Nakamura stood in the staging area below the arena. He wore simple black clothes that looked like they came from an old Earth movie. His weapons were strange compared to what others carried. No glowing energy guns. No floating metal suits. Just some curved metal swords, throwing knives, and what looked like a long tube made of wood and steel. Around him, other warriors checked their advanced gear. A Kruthuri soldier tested his plasma cannon. The weapon could melt through a tank in seconds. His thick gray skin was covered in metal plates that could stop bullets. He stood 9 feet tall and weighed as much as a small car. An Exari fighter adjusted her cybernetic implants. Wires ran under her purple skin, connecting to a computer in her brain. She could see heat signatures, calculate bullet paths, and react faster than any normal being. Her energy shield could stop almost any attack. 3 Vexti warriors moved as one unit. Their insect-like bodies were connected through a shared mind. When one saw something, all 3 knew about it instantly. They carried weapons that shot acid and had claws that could cut through steel. General Vorth of the Kruthuri looked down at the staging area from his command box. His 4 eyes studied each fighter carefully. When his gaze reached the human, he started laughing. The sound was deep and loud, like rocks falling down a mountain. What is that supposed to be? Vorth asked the other generals sitting nearby. Did Earth send a costume performer instead of a real warrior? The question reached the arena speakers by accident. Everyone heard it. Soon, thousands of aliens were laughing and pointing at Nakamura. Some made jokes in languages that sounded like music or grinding metal. An Exari general named Keck spoke up. Her voice was cold and electronic. Our files say humans use something called ninja techniques. It appears to be an ancient combat method that involves hiding and using simple weapons. More laughter filled the hall. A floating Zephyrian commander's translation device struggled to find the right words. Hiding? In real combat? What happens when there is nowhere to hide? General Vorth stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow over his viewing box. Let me understand this correctly. While we develop plasma weapons that can destroy starships, humans practiced. Hiding in bushes and throwing pointed metal? The crowd roared with amusement. Even the usually serious military judges cracked what passed for smiles on their alien faces. Down in the staging area, Nakamura remained calm. He had heard worse during his 20 years of service. He checked his equipment one more time. Everything was where it should be. His breathing was steady. His mind was clear. A tournament official approached him. The being looked like a walking tree with too many arms. Human representative, are you certain you do not want to request different equipment? We have basic energy weapons available for loan. Thank you, but no, Nakamura replied politely. These will be sufficient. The official's bark-like skin changed color slightly, showing confusion. Very well. Please review the tournament rules one final time. Nakamura nodded as the official explained. The games would have 5 rounds. Each round would test different combat skills. Fighters would face increasingly difficult challenges. The arena could create any environment using advanced hologram technology. Everything would feel completely real, but special safety systems would prevent actual death. First round begins in 10 minutes, the official announced. You will face basic combat drones in an urban environment. The drones are programmed to use standard military tactics. Good luck, human." As the official walked away, a Krathari warrior named Captain Grex approached. He was smaller than General Vorth, but still twice Nakamura's size. His plasma rifle was as long as the human was tall. "I watched humans fight in the border wars," Grex said. "You are brave but foolish. Your people charged forward with primitive weapons against superior firepower. It is admirable but pointless." "Perhaps," Nakamura said simply. "There is no perhaps," Grex continued. "I have killed dozens of your kind in real combat. Your bullets bounce off our armor. Your explosives barely scratch our shields. What can one human with ancient weapons do that entire human armies could not?" Nakamura looked up at the massive alien. His face showed no fear or anger. "You will find out soon enough." Grex laughed and walked away, shaking his huge head. The arena floor began to change. The flat metal surface shifted and grew. Buildings rose from the ground like plants growing in fast motion. Streets formed between them. Cars and debris appeared, creating the perfect copy of a war-torn city. "Competitors to your starting positions," announced the arena's voice system. Nakamura walked to his designated spot at one edge of the fake city. Across from him, other fighters took their positions. The Krathari checked his plasma cannon one more time. The Nexari activated her energy shields. The Vextai warriors formed their battle formation dot in the viewing area. Aliens placed bets on how quickly each fighter would complete the course. Most bet that Nakamura would be eliminated in under 2 minutes. "Begin first round." The voice announced. Combat drones materialized throughout the city. They were silver metal beings with red glowing eyes and energy weapons. Their programming made them smart enough to work together and use cover, but they were still just machines. The Krathari warrior charged forward, his plasma cannon firing brilliant blue bolts. Drones exploded in showers of sparks. His thick armor absorbed their return fire easily. He moved through the streets like an unstoppable tank. The Nexari fighter used a different approach. A computer brain calculated the best path through the city. She moved precisely from cover to cover, her energy shield deflecting drone attacks while she picked them off with careful shots. The Vextai warriors spread out but stayed connected through their shared mind. They surrounded groups of drones and attacked from multiple directions at once. Everyone watched these warriors with interest and approval. This was how modern combat should look. Powerful weapons, advanced tactics, technological superiority. Then they looked for the human. The screens showed his starting position, but Nakamura was gone. The cameras searched the streets and buildings, but could not find him anywhere. Where did the primitive go? General Vorth asked, leaning forward in his seat. On the arena floor, the combat drones that were assigned to fight Nakamura began to malfunction. Their sensors showed no targets, but their programming told them an enemy was nearby. They moved in confused patterns, searching for something they could not find. One by one, the drones began to shut down. No explosions, no flashing lights. They simply stopped working and fell over. The crowd watched in puzzled silence as Nakamura's section of the arena became littered with inactive drones. But they still could not see the human anywhere. Technical malfunction, someone suggested. The drones must be broken. But deep down, some of the smarter aliens began to feel the first tiny seed of doubt. The arena reset itself for round 2. The fake city disappeared, replaced by a massive space station interior. Long metal hallways stretched in every direction. Pipes ran along the walls and ceiling. Emergency lights cast strange shadows everywhere. General Vorth leaned forward in his viewing box. He was no longer laughing. The first round had ended with Nakamura somehow defeating all his assigned drones, but nobody had seen how he did it. The replay cameras showed empty corridors and drones falling over for no clear reason. Increase sensor sensitivity, Vorth ordered his technical staff. I want to see every dust particle in that arena. The second round opponents were much more dangerous. Instead of simple drones, each fighter now faced elite warriors from neutral species. These were real beings with real combat experience, not just programmed machines. Captain Grex cracked his knuckles as he prepared his weapons. Now we will see what the human can do against living opponents, he said to his fellow Krathari. Drones are predictable. Real fighters adapt and think. Nakamura stood in his starting position at the far end of the station. His opponent was a Vextai warrior named Zix. The insect-like being had 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. His compound eyes could see in all directions at once. Most importantly, he was connected to the Vextai hive mind network, which meant he could call for help and share information instantly with his species. This will be over quickly, Zix chittered to his nearby kin through their mental link. One primitive human against Vextai superiority. The round began. Zix moved forward confidently through the station corridors. His weapons were ready. His connection to the hive mind was strong. Other Vextai around the galaxy were watching through his eyes, ready to offer tactical advice. He reached the first intersection and paused. His sensors detected no movement, but something felt wrong. The air circulation system was working normally. The lights were functioning. Everything looked exactly as it should, but Zix could not shake the feeling that he was being watched. He tried to contact the hive mind for guidance, but something strange happened. The connection flickered and weakened. Then it cut out completely. For a Vextai warrior, losing connection to the hive mind was like losing half his brain. Suddenly, Zix had to think entirely on his own. The experience was terrifying and confusing. He spun around, searching for enemies. His 4 weapons aimed in different directions. "Show yourself, human," he called out in standard galactic. Silence answered him. In the viewing area. The crowd watched with growing interest. The camera showed Zix moving through empty corridors, acting paranoid and scared. But they still could not find Nakamura anywhere. "How is the human blocking Vextai communication?" asked the Nexari general. "That requires advanced electronic warfare capabilities." "Maybe he is not blocking it," suggested another alien. "Maybe he damaged the communication implant somehow." On the arena floor, Zix continued his search. He was sweating now, which was unusual for his species. Every shadow seemed to hide an enemy. Every sound made him jump. He turned a corner and found a metal throwing knife stuck in the wall next to his head. The blade had appeared there silently, without any warning. If it had been aimed at his neck instead of the wall, he would be dead. Zix fired all his weapons down the corridor where the knife had come from. Energy bolts and acid shots lit up the hallway, melting walls and filling the air with smoke. When the smoke cleared, the corridor was empty. Another knife appeared, this time embedded in the floor between his feet. Zix spun around wildly, firing in every direction. His panic was complete now. He had gone from confident hunter to terrified prey in just a few minutes. A third knife struck his primary weapon, destroying it without harming him. The message was clear. The human could have killed him easily, but chose not to. "I surrender," Zix whispered. Dropping his remaining weapons, he appeared on the nearest exit platform a moment later, automatically transported out by the arena's safety systems. His compound eyes were wide with shock, and he was shaking uncontrollably. The viewing area fell silent. Round 3 began immediately. This time, Nakamura faced a Krathari shock trooper named Vex. The massive alien wore full combat armor and carried a plasma rifle that could punch through starship hull plating. Vex was not like Zix. He had fought in dozens of real wars. He did not panic easily, And he certainly was not afraid of one small human with primitive weapons. The arena changed again, this time becoming a rocky canyon with multiple levels and hiding spots. Perfect sniper territory. Vex moved carefully but confidently through the canyon. His armor's sensors scanned continuously for heat signatures, movement, and energy readings. His helmet's display showed detailed tactical information about every rock and shadow. "I can see everything, human," Vex called out, his voice echoing off the canyon walls. "My sensors detect the smallest mouse from a kilometer away. You cannot hide from Krathery technology." He was right about his sensors. They were incredibly advanced and should have been able to detect any living being in the area. But they detected nothing. Vex reached the center of the canyon and stopped. According to his mission briefing, the human should be somewhere nearby, but his sensors showed the area was completely empty. He checked his equipment twice. Everything was working perfectly. A small rock fell from somewhere above him. Vex looked up and saw nothing but empty cliff faces. He aimed his plasma rifle upward and fired several shots, lighting up the rock walls with brilliant blue energy. Nothing fell down. No body, no equipment, no sign that anyone had ever been there. Another rock fell, this time from behind him. Vex spun around and fired again. The plasma bolts turned part of the canyon wall into molten glass, but revealed no hidden enemies. His confidence began to crack. For the next 10 minutes, Vex played a deadly game with an opponent he could not see. Rocks fell from impossible locations. Equipment on his belt mysteriously came loose. His weapons targeting system began showing false readings. Finally, something struck his helmet hard enough to crack the visor. Not enough to seriously injure him, but enough to prove that his advanced armor could not protect him from this enemy. Vex looked around the canyon one more time, his damaged sensors flickering and unreliable. He was one of the elite Krathery warriors, trained from birth for combat. He had never been defeated by any enemy, but he had never fought an enemy like this. I surrender," he said quietly. The arena transported him out immediately. Round 4 featured a Nexari cyber warrior named Kala. She was more machine than flesh, with computer processors for a brain and sensors that could track a target across star systems. The arena became a dark forest filled with thick trees and heavy fog. Visibility was almost zero, which should have given the advantage to Kala's advanced sensors. She lasted exactly 3 minutes before surrendering. Round 5 was the final test. A champion from the ethereal collective. Beings made of pure energy who could phase through solid matter and see across multiple dimensions. The champion lasted 90 seconds. Each opponent left the arena with the same expression of shock and fear. None of them had ever seen their attacker. None of them could explain what had happened. In the viewing area, the alien audience sat in stunned silence. The laughter from earlier was completely gone. Instead, thousands of advanced warriors stared at the arena screens, trying to understand what they had witnessed. General Vorth stood up slowly from his command chair. His face showed an emotion that Krathery rarely experienced: uncertainty. "Bring the human to the debriefing room," he ordered. "I have questions." But when security went to collect Nakamura from the arena, they found only empty air. The human was already gone. General Vorth paced back and forth in his command room like a caged animal. The tournament had ended 3 hours ago, but he could not stop thinking about what he had seen. 5 elite warriors, all defeated by one human they never even spotted. "It makes no sense," he growled to his staff. "Our technology is superior. Our training is superior. How does one primitive fighter defeat opponents with centuries of combat experience?" Captain Grex stood at attention nearby. His pride was hurt almost as much as his curiosity was aroused. "Perhaps we should test the human under more realistic conditions, General." The tournament had safety rules and artificial boundaries. Real combat is different. Vorth stopped pacing. His four eyes focused on Grex with interest. What are you suggesting, Captain? A war game exercise. Station-wide. No safety rules except no killing. Give the human a real challenge, and us a real chance to study his methods. The general thought about this for several minutes. The idea had merit. Kepler Station was huge, with thousands of corridors, rooms, and hiding places. They could use their full squad of elite shock troopers instead of just one-on-one fights. Most importantly, they could use all their advanced equipment without tournament restrictions. Excellent idea, Captain. But we will stack the odds properly this time. Vorth activated his communication system. Security Command, prepare for a station-wide military exercise. Authorization Vorth 77 Alpha. Within minutes, the station's civilian areas were sealed off and evacuated. Emergency bulkheads dropped into place, creating a massive maze of metal corridors and chambers. Weapon restrictions were lifted for military personnel. Vorth assembled his finest unit, 12 Krathuri shock troopers, each one a veteran of multiple wars. They wore the most advanced combat armor their civilization could produce. Their weapons could punch through starship armor. Their sensors could track a target through solid metal. This time will be different, Vorth told his troops in the briefing room. No tournament rules. No artificial limitations. Hunt the human down using everything at your disposal. Show him what real warfare looks like. The troopers checked their equipment one final time. Each soldier carried enough firepower to level a small building. Their armor could stop anything short of a direct hit from a starship cannon. Their helmet displays showed tactical information that would overwhelm most species' brains. Sir, asked Sergeant Thok, Vorth's most experienced trooper, what if we cannot find him? The tournament showed that our sensors might not work against this human. Then we flush him out, Vorth replied. Seal every exit. Control every corridor. Force him to come to us. He is just one being. We are 12, with backup support from station security. Numbers will win. The exercise began at 1400 station time. The Krathuri troopers spread out in perfect military formation. They moved through the station corridors like a metal wave, checking every room and closet. Their communication system kept them linked at all times. Their sensors swept constantly for any sign of the human. Nakamura received notification of the exercise while meditating in his assigned quarters. The message was formal and polite, but the meaning was clear. This was a test of his abilities. Under realistic combat conditions, he gathered his equipment and left his room through the ventilation system. For the first 2 hours, everything went according to the Krathuri plan. They systematically searched section after section of the station. Their formation was tight and professional. Their communication was clear and constant. Then Trooper Kex, who was watching the rear of the formation, stopped responding to radio calls. Kex, report your status, ordered Sergeant Thok through the comm system. Silence. All units. Converge on Kex's last known position. When the squad reached the spot where Kex should have been, they found only an empty corridor. His armor's tracking beacon showed he was still there, but there was no sign of the trooper himself. They discovered Kex 10 minutes later, unconscious in a maintenance closet. He was alive and uninjured, but his armor had been removed and his weapons were missing. Most disturbing of all, he had no memory of what had happened to him. Stay together, Thok ordered. No one moves alone. Maintain visual contact at all times. The squad reformed into a tighter formation and continued their search. Their confidence was shaken, but they were still 11 elite warriors with superior equipment. One human could not defeat them all. Trooper Zav was next. He was in the middle of the formation, surrounded by his squad mates, when his commute began broadcasting strange static. The interference was so loud that the other troopers had to turn down their radio volume. "Zav, fix your communication system," Thok ordered. But Zav did not respond. He stood motionless in the corridor, his weapon lowered, staring at something the others could not see. When Thok approached him, he found that Zav's helmet display was showing a complex pattern of lights that seemed to move and shift. The trooper was completely hypnotized by whatever he was seeing. It took 3 soldiers to drag Zav to safety and remove his compromised helmet. "How is this possible?" demanded Thok. "Krathari equipment does not malfunction like this. Someone is interfering with our systems." The remaining 10 troopers checked their gear carefully. Everything seemed normal, but they no longer trusted their own equipment completely. As they moved deeper into the station, more strange things began happening. Motion sensors would suddenly show targets that were not there. Tactical displays would flicker and show false information. Weapon targeting systems would lock onto empty air. "It's like fighting a ghost," muttered Trooper Gex. That was when the sniping began. The first shot came from somewhere ahead of them. Not a plasma bolt or energy beam, but something much simpler. A small metal projectile that struck Trooper Vio's weapon and destroyed its firing mechanism. The shot was so precise that it damaged the gun without harming the soldier carrying it. The troopers immediately took cover and began scanning for the shooter. Their sensors detected nothing, but they knew someone was out there. A second shot struck Trooper Nex's armor, right at the joint where his helmet connected to his chest piece. Again, the shot was precisely aimed to disable equipment without causing injury. "Return fire," Thok ordered. The Krathari opened up with everything they had. Plasma bolts lit up the corridor like lightning. The walls melted under the intense heat. The air filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. When the barrage ended, the corridor was completely destroyed. But their sensors still detected no targets. A third shot rang out, this time from behind them. Impossible, since they had just cleared that area. "He's everywhere and nowhere," whispered Trooper Lex, his voice shaking. For the next hour, the mysterious sniper picked apart their formation 1 shot at a time. Each projectile was aimed perfectly to disable equipment or create confusion without seriously harming anyone. Weapons jammed. Sensors failed. Communication systems went dead. The psychological effect was devastating. These were warriors who had conquered entire star systems. But they were being systematically hunted by an enemy they could not even see. "General," Thok reported through his failing communication system, "we need backup. This human is using tactics we have never encountered." But when backup arrived, the same thing happened to them. Reinforcement squads found their equipment failing and their soldiers being picked off one by an invisible enemy. By 2000 station time, 37 Krathari soldiers had been eliminated from the exercise. None of them had been seriously injured, but all of them had been defeated by precise, impossible shots from an enemy who might as well have been a ghost. General Vorth stood in his command center, watching the tactical display with growing alarm. Red dots showed the positions of his disabled soldiers scattered throughout the station. Blue dots showed his remaining active troops, and those numbers were shrinking every few minutes. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "we have lost contact with 70% of our forces. The human appears to be moving through areas that our sensors say are empty. He's taking shots from ranges that should be impossible with primitive weapons." Vorth stared at the display for a long time. Then he activated the station-wide communication system. "Attention all personnel. Exercise is terminated. All units return to base immediately." But as his remaining troops tried to retreat, they found that the hunter was not finished with them yet. Security Chief Zarath had watched many battles in her long career, but nothing had prepared her for what she witnessed during the station-wide exercise. Her 8 eyes could process visual information faster than most computers. Yet she could not track the human's movements, even when reviewing the recordings in slow motion. "Play it again," she ordered her technical staff. Focus on corridor section C7, where Trooper Vex was eliminated. The holographic display showed a perfectly normal corridor. Trooper Vex walked into view, his massive form filling most of the hallway. His sensors showed green across the board. His weapon was ready. His armor was intact, and something struck his plasma rifle with enough force to knock it from his hands. The rifle clattered across the floor, its power cell cracked and useless. "There," Zareth pointed with one of her manipulator arms. "Replay that moment frame by frame." The technician slowed the recording until each second stretched into minutes. Frame by frame, they watched the plasma rifle suddenly jerk sideways. But the recording showed no projectile, no energy beam, nothing that could have caused the weapon to move. "The shot had to come from somewhere," Zareth muttered. "Energy cannot be created or destroyed. If something hit that rifle, our sensors should detect it." "Ma'am," the technician said carefully, "what if the projectile was moving too fast for our sensors to track?" Zareth's eyes focused on the young alien with interest. "Explain." "Our sensors are calibrated to detect energy weapons and modern projectiles. They expect certain speeds and energy signatures. What if this human is using something so primitive that our systems ignore it?" The idea seemed ridiculous at first. Modern military sensors could track a dust particle moving at high speed. How could a simple metal projectile avoid detection? But as Zareth reviewed more footage, she began to see a pattern. The human's weapons were not invisible. They were simply so basic that advanced sensors did not recognize them as threats. "Computer," she commanded, "recalibrate sensors to detect any moving object, regardless of size or composition." The computer processed the request for several seconds. "Warning, this calibration will generate significant false positives. Sensors will detect dust, insects, air currents, and other irrelevant objects. Do it anyway." The computer reanalyzed the corridor footage with the new settings. Suddenly, the recordings came alive with information. Tiny objects moved through the air at incredible speeds. Metal projectiles flew from impossible angles. Most shocking of all, the recordings now showed the faint outline of a human figure moving through areas that had appeared completely empty before. "How is he doing that?" whispered the technician. Zara single quotes, enhanced the image quality, and studied the human's movements carefully. Nakamura seemed to flow through the corridors like liquid shadow. He moved when guards looked away. He struck from angles that should have been impossible. Most importantly, he used the station's own systems against itself. "He's not just hiding," she realized. "He's using our technology's limitations against us. Our sensors are designed to ignore small objects and focus on major threats. He exploits that gap." In his command center, General Vorth received Zareth's report with growing unease. The implications were staggering. If one human could defeat his elite forces so easily, what did that say about the Krathori military's effectiveness against Earth as a whole? "Summon the human to a meeting," Vorth ordered. "I want answers." But finding Nakamura proved to be another challenge. The human was no longer in his assigned quarters. Security cameras could not locate him anywhere on the station. It was as if he had simply disappeared. It took 6 hours for station personnel to track him down. They finally found him in the meditation garden, sitting peacefully under an artificial tree. He was cleaning his weapons with simple cloth and oil. Completely calm despite having just defeated 37 elite soldiers. "Master Sergeant Nakamura," the security escort said formally, "General Vorth requests your presence in the command center." "Of course," Nakamura replied, setting aside his equipment. "I have been expecting this meeting." The command center was filled with alien officers from a dozen different species. All of them stared at the small human as he entered. Some looked curious. Others looked worried. A few looked afraid. General Vorth stood at the center of the room, his four eyes focused intently on Nakamura. The massive alien had commanded respect throughout the galaxy for decades. But now he faced an enemy he did not understand. "Explain," Vorth said simply. Nakamura bowed slightly, showing respect but not submission. "What would the general like me to explain? How did you defeat my soldiers? How did you avoid our sensors? How did you make shots that should be impossible?" The human was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Your people have accomplished amazing things, General. Your technology is far beyond what Earth currently possesses. Your weapons can destroy entire cities. Your sensors can detect ships across star systems, but—" Vorth prompted. "But in developing all this technology, you forgot something important. You forgot to develop yourselves." The alien officers exchanged confused looks. Several of them began speaking at once, but Vorth silenced them with a gesture. "Continue," the general said. "For thousands of years, humans have practiced disciplines that push the limits of what our bodies and minds can achieve. We call these practices martial arts, but they are much more than fighting techniques. They teach us to control our breathing, our movements, our thoughts. They teach us to see without looking and to move without being seen." A Nexari officer stepped forward, her cybernetic implants glowing with data processing activity. "Are you claiming that biological training is superior to technological enhancement?" "Not superior," Nakamura corrected. "Different. Your sensors are designed to detect threats that match your understanding of warfare. But what happens when you face an opponent who operates outside those parameters?" He gestured to a wall display that showed the station's layout. "Your security systems are incredibly sophisticated, but they all follow logical patterns. Guard rotations happen at set times. Sensors scan in predictable sequences. Communication protocols follow established frequencies. Those are military standards," protested a Cruthry captain. "Proven effective across thousands of battles. Effective against enemies who fight the same way you do," Nakamura agreed. "But not effective against someone who is trained to exploit the gaps in those systems." General Vorth leaned forward in his chair. "What gaps?" "Our security protocols are perfect." Nakamura smiled slightly. "General, during the exercise, how many times did your soldiers check the ceiling spaces above their heads?" Vorth paused. "The ceiling? Why would they check the ceiling?" "Because that is where I was for most of the time. Your sensors focus on floor level, where threats normally appear. Your soldiers look straight ahead or to the sides, not up. So I moved above you, traveling through maintenance spaces that your tactical planning never considers." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "The shots," demanded Security Chief Zarth. "How did you make those impossible shots?" "Not impossible. Difficult but achievable through training. Human snipers have been making precision shots over long distances for centuries. We understand wind patterns, bullet drop, and trajectory in ways that your computer-assisted targeting does not account for. Your systems are designed for energy weapons that travel in straight lines. My weapons follow curved paths that your sensors cannot predict. But the ranges," Zareth protested, "were within the capabilities of my rifle, given proper calculation and training. Your soldiers assumed that primitive weapons meant short range and poor accuracy. That assumption made them careless about cover and positioning." General Vorth stood up slowly, his massive frame towering over the human. But for the first time in decades, the alien general did not feel physically imposing. "You are telling me that one human with simple weapons defeated my elite forces through training?" "Not just training, General. understanding. You fight the way your technology tells you to fight. We fight the way the situation requires us to fight. Sometimes that means using advanced weapons and tactics. Sometimes it means using methods that are thousands of years old. The general walked around Nakamura in a slow circle, studying him carefully. What other human military traditions should we be aware of? Nakamura's expression remained neutral, but there was a hint of something in his eyes. Pride, perhaps. A warning. General, what you saw today was just one small example of human military capability. On Earth, we have many different warrior traditions. Special forces units that can operate behind enemy lines for months without detection. Snipers who can make kills from distances your people would consider impossible. Infantry who can survive and fight in conditions that would kill most aliens. How many such warriors does Earth possess? Millions, General. And each one is trained differently. What you learn today about ninja techniques would not help you against a Navy SEAL, or a Ranger, or a Marine. Those are completely different fighting styles with different strengths. The room was completely silent now. Every alien officer stared at the human with new understanding and growing concern. General, Vorth returned to his chair and sat down heavily. It seems we have greatly underestimated Earth's military capabilities. Most species do, Nakamura replied politely. News of the Kepler station incident spread through the galaxy faster than light-speed communications could carry it. Within days, every major military force knew that one human soldier had defeated an entire squad of elite Krathari, warriors using nothing but primitive weapons and ancient techniques. At first, most alien commanders dismissed the reports as exaggerated propaganda. The Krathari were known for their pride, and perhaps they had invented this story to cover up some embarrassing training accident. But when the official recordings arrived, along with detailed sensor logs and testimony from multiple witnesses, the galaxy's military establishment had to face an uncomfortable truth. They had completely misunderstood human combat capabilities. Ambassador Telani of the Galactic Council called an emergency session 3 weeks after the incident. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Hall on Nexus Prime, their various forms creating a colorful crowd of alien shapes and sizes. We are here to address the so-called Earth question, Ambassador Telani announced, her 6 arms gesturing elegantly as she spoke. Recent events have shown that our assessment of human military capacity may have been incomplete. General Vorth stood to address the assembly. The proud Krathari leader looked uncomfortable as he began his report. Honored delegates, I must inform you that everything we thought we knew about human warfare was wrong. They do not simply rely on courage and primitive weapons as we believed. They possess sophisticated combat techniques that our technology cannot counter. Murmurs rippled through the assembly hall. Several delegates activated translation devices to make sure they had heard correctly. With respect, General, interrupted Admiral Kexvar of the Nexari fleet. How can primitive techniques be superior to advanced technology? Our computers can calculate trajectory, wind speed, and targeting solutions faster than any biological mind. That is exactly the problem, Vorth replied. Our technology assumes that enemies will fight using methods we understand. Humans fight using methods we have never encountered. A holographic display activated above the assembly, showing highlights from the Kepler station exercise. The alien delegates watched in stunned silence as their cameras failed to track the human. As elite soldiers were eliminated by an invisible enemy. As advanced weapons were rendered useless by precise strikes from simple projectiles. This is impossible, declared Commander Zix of the Vextai Collective. No single warrior could defeat such numbers. I have the complete sensor logs, Vorth stated firmly. I have interviewed every soldier who participated. What you see is exactly what happened. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued that the recordings must be fake. Others suggested that the human had used hidden technology. A few proposed that the entire incident was some kind of elaborate trick. But gradually, a consensus began to emerge. Earth's military capabilities were far more sophisticated than anyone had realized. "If this is true," said Ambassador Telani finally, "then we must completely revise our strategic assessments. How many other human techniques are we unaware of?" That question led to an unprecedented decision. For the first time in galactic history, the Council voted to formally request military training assistance from a species they had previously considered primitive. The message reached Earth 2 days later. President Chen read the diplomatic communication twice before calling an emergency meeting with her military advisors. "They want us to send instructors," she told the assembled generals and admirals. "The Galactic Council is formally requesting that we establish joint training programs with their military forces." General Martinez of the Space Marines laughed out loud. 6 months ago, they were offering us advanced weapons to replace our primitive equipment. Now they want to learn from us? "The situation has changed," President Chen replied. Master Sergeant Nakamura's demonstration showed them something they did not expect. They realize we might have capabilities they lack. "What do you think we should do?" asked Admiral Ross of the Space Navy. President Chen looked out the window at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. "I think we should accept their request, but not just for diplomatic reasons." The other officers waited for her to continue. "This is an opportunity to learn as much as we teach. Their technology really is advanced in many areas. If we can combine their scientific capabilities with our tactical expertise, both sides will benefit." 3 months later, the first joint training facility opened on a neutral station in the Centauri system. The initial class consisted of elite soldiers from 12 different alien species, along with human instructors from various special forces units. Master Sergeant Nakamura found himself teaching a class of massive Krathri warriors how to move silently through urban environments. The sight of 9-foot-tall aliens trying to practice stealth was amusing at first, but they learned quickly once they understood the principles involved. "Remember," Nakamura told his students, "technology can enhance your abilities, but it cannot replace fundamentals. Your armor's sensors are excellent, but what happens if they fail? Your weapons are powerful, but what if they jam? You must be capable of fighting effectively, even when your technology abandons you." Captain Grex, who had volunteered for the training despite his earlier skepticism, raised one of his 4 hands. "Instructor, how do we reconcile this approach with our existing tactical doctrine? Our entire military strategy is based on technological superiority." "You do not abandon your technology," Nakamura explained. "You integrate these techniques with your existing capabilities. Use your sensors when they work, but also develop your natural senses as backup. Rely on your powerful weapons for most situations, but master simpler tools for special circumstances." In another part of the facility, a human Navy SEAL named Lieutenant Commander Sarah, Chen was teaching a mixed class of alien soldiers about underwater combat operations. Most of the aliens had never considered fighting in liquid environments before. Your species evolved in space and on dry worlds, Chen explained to her students, who were wearing specially designed breathing apparatus. But many habitable worlds have extensive water systems. If you cannot operate in these environments, you surrender significant tactical advantages to enemies who can. The Nexari students were particularly interested in this concept. Their cybernetic implants allowed them to survive underwater, but they had never developed specific techniques for aquatic combat. Meanwhile, human officers were learning just as much from their alien counterparts. Dr. Lisa Park, a weapons specialist from the Army Research Division, worked closely with Vextai engineers to understand their hive mind coordination techniques. The applications are incredible, She reported to Earth Command. Their ability to share tactical information instantly across multiple units could revolutionize how we coordinate large-scale operations. The training program expanded rapidly as word spread through both human and alien military networks. Soon, there were facilities on 17 different worlds, each one focusing on different aspects of combined tactical doctrine. General Vorth, who had initially been humiliated by his encounter with Nakamura, became one of the program's strongest supporters. He established a permanent exchange program that brought human instructors to Kratheri military academies. Pride made us blind, he told his fellow Kratheri officers. We assumed that technological advancement meant military superiority. The humans showed us that warfare is about more than just having better weapons. The most significant breakthrough came when combined human-alien teams began participating in joint exercises. These mixed units proved to be far more effective than either species fighting alone. A team consisting of human special forces, operators, and Nexari cyber warriors successfully infiltrated and captured a heavily defended simulation facility that had previously been considered impossible to take. The humans provided stealth and tactical innovation, while the Nexabi exhibited advanced sensors and electronic warfare capabilities. Another combined unit, pairing human snipers with Vextai spotters, achieved accuracy levels that surprised even the instructors. The aliens' compound eyes could detect targets that humans missed, while the humans could make shots that alien technology considered impossible. As the program continued, something unexpected began to happen. The alien species started developing their own variations of human techniques, adapted to their unique physiologies and capabilities. Krathari warriors learned to use their massive strength for stealth rather than brute force, moving quietly despite their size. Nexari soldiers discovered that their cybernetic implants could enhance meditation techniques, creating a fusion of technology and mental discipline. Vextai units developed new applications for their hive mind abilities, using coordinated breathing and movement patterns that amplified their natural connections. 1 year after the Kepler Station incident, Ambassador Talani convened another council session to review the results of the joint training program. The data is clear, she announced to the assembly. Mixed human-alien units consistently outperform single-species forces in combat simulations. More importantly, these collaborations have led to innovations that neither side could have achieved alone. The presentation included footage of the latest exercises, showing human and alien soldiers working together with seamless coordination.